Okay, welcome everybody. Wednesday night, Halacha and Chassidus. The class tonight is called A Whole Half, and it is an investigation a little bit into Parshas Shekalim, which is the extra special parsha we have this week. It's Parshas Mishpatim, but being that it's also before Chodesh Adar, Shabbos Mevarchim Adar, so it's also, we have a second Sefer Torah, Parshas Shekalim, from Parshas, which we read from Parshas Kisisa, the special after reading. And so I thought that it would be a good idea to examine that a little bit. We do have some first-time sources here as well. That's always interesting. And I wanted to say something else, but I forgot what it was by way of introduction. So too bad. I guess we don't have that introduction. Oh, there you go. That's all the introduction you need. Okay. Let's take a look. Source one is from the Mafter reading from Parshas Shekalim, which is in Parshas Kisisa, Shmois, Sefer Shmois, chapter 30, verse 17. The Torah is describing to us what exactly a person has to do when they give their half shekel to the base of Mikdash, which we're going to see later what the purpose of that half shekel was. Spoiler alert, the main thing the half shekel was used for was karbonos tzibur, communal offerings. We'll get to that later, God willing. Ze yitnu. This is what a person should give, all who are passing by the counting process. Machzis ha-shekel. What should you give? A machzis. Should give a half. Should give a half. There's a word, machzis ha-shekel b'shekel ha-kodesh, from the holy shekel. Esrim gera ha-shekel. How much is a shekel? 20 gera, 20 cents, or whatever it is. 20 gera. It's not 100 cents like a dollar. It's 20 gera. Machzis ha-shekel, truma l'Hashem. That's a half shekel. Is the full shekel. Esrim gera ha-shekel. The full shekel is 20. Machzis ha-shekel is what you give as truma l'Hashem. The Torah could just say eser gera. Just give eser gera. And eser gera mathematically would work out to half a shekel. Or it could have just said half a shekel, which is 10 gera, but it doesn't. It says the whole shekel is 20. Don't give that, though. It's like, I remember once I was walking with one of my kids, they're like, see that guy over there? And I said, yeah, I don't know him. Oh. Okay, anyway, there's a word that says machzis ha-shekel. You have to give a machzis. So there's a word that you have the middle letter of the word machzis is the letter tzaddik. The tzaddik, the righteous individual, the tzaddik. So if you go too far away from the tzaddik, what are the letters at the beginning and the end, farther away from the middle letter? Mem and a saf, mace, that's death. But if you stay close to the tzaddik, what are the two letters next to the letter tzaddik in the middle? A ches and a yud, chai, life. When we're attached to tzaddikim, when we attach ourselves and connect to righteous people, to Talmidei Chachamim, to tzaddikim, to the Messiah of Moshe Rabbeinu, and so on and so forth, all the great tzaddikim, that's chai, that's life. So we have to give a half a shekel, not a whole shekel. Source number 2, the Rambam, Hilchos Shekalim, the laws of Shekalim, which is in the book of Zmanim. Machzis shekel, machzis ha-shekel zu, this half shekel that the Torah teaches us about, mitzvah shit in machzis matbeh shel oisei hazman. The mitzvah is to give a half, not to give a whole. I don't care if you have a whole. The mitzvah is to give a half of whatever currency is from where you live. If you live in America, you give a half dollar. If you live in euro, you give a half euro. Euro. You live in Europe. Now they have only one currency, right? Do they still use francs or Deutschmarks or anything else? Only the euro now, right? Just takes away all the fun. Okay. You should give mitzvah shayitin machzis matbeh shel oisei hazman, from those times. Even if it's worth more than the shekel was worth. So you have to give only a half. Half of what? Half of whatever is the currency. By the way, you're not going to go for the less either. You can't give less than a half either. It can't be less than whatever the half was worth in the days of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, that's the amount it is. Fine. So what do we see? Number one, from the Rambam, we see that you have to give only a half and specifically a half. And a half, regardless of which currency it is. Give a half. Source number 3, the Gemara Masechtas Zvachim. Omar Shmuel. Kli Shares. We see a principle in Shas, in Halacha, when it comes to the service in the Beis HaMikdash, that a Kli Shares, one of the utensils that is being used for the service in the Beis HaMikdash, Ein Makadshin Ela Shleimin. You can only use it when it's shalem. If it has a pagam, a blemish, if it's chipped, if it's broken, whatever it may be, no, you can't use it. Has to be whole. And further, furthermore, when you fill it up, it's got to be full, filled to the brim. So we see this in Inyan when it comes to the service, when it comes to the avodah, Beis Hamikdash has to be shalem, has to be mole, has to be whole, has to be full, has to be complete. Yet by the half shekel, which is donated to the Beis Hamikdash, we only give a half. It's the opposite of the Gemara in Zvachim. The Gemara in Zvachim tells us you got to be shalem and mole. Fill it to the brim. Like saying, maybe you go to a restaurant, maybe you go for anniversary or a special event, special occasion, you order a glass of wine, and the waiter comes and he fills it up like no. Like, I ordered a glass of wine. Don't give me fill up my glass of wine, right? You want to fill the glass. You don't really get it full, but whatever. Whereas here, by the half shekel, it's dafka a half. And furthermore, in source number 4, the Rambam continuing in Hilchos Shekalim, mitzvah saseh min ha-Torah, litain kol ish mi-Yisrael machzis ha-shekel b'chol shana v'shana. It's a mitzvah from the Torah that everybody gives a half a shekel every year. Afilu oni ha-misparis min ha-tzedakah chayev. Even a poor person who's sustained by the local tzedakah board. Where else do we see this? Where else do we see a filu oni amispanis min tzedakah? We had it once in one show. Pesach. What did you say?
That's right.
Pesach. That's right. Pesach. The Daled Kosais. 4 cups of wine. That's right. B'shoel me'achedim with borrow from other people like mechik sus shal kseifa sell your shirt. V'noisen machzes shekel kesef. You have to give the silver coin, half coin. Shene'amar, as the pasuk says, he'osher lo yarbe. The rich man does not give more than half a shekel. V'adal, and the poor man lo yamit. He doesn't give less either. So there's no increasing, there's no diminishing from the machzis. Now here's the point I wanted to highlight over here in source number 4 in the Rambam. In contrast to source number 2 and 3. In source number 2 and 3, the Rambam and the Gemara in Zvachim, we see that the inyan is you don't give the whole thing. You give only a half. Comes along the Rambam in source number 4. But you can't split it up. That half, which is already split, you can't split it up. You can't give a little bit today. The half has to be whole.
Complete half.
The complete half. Right. Meaning that half that you have to give the whole thing all at once. So there's a half and there's a whole. So we have a little bit of this tension, I guess, if you will. A little bit of tension, so to speak. So how can we work these things out together? That on the one hand, it's dafka a half, not a whole. And the pasuk even tells me how much the whole is. Just don't do that. See that guy over there? Yeah, I don't know him. A full shekel is 20 gera. Don't give that. It's a little bit strange. Just tell me what to give. Don't tell me what not to give. I mean, the Torah doesn't actually say what not to give. But we understand from the verse, Esrim gera ha-shekel, but that's not what we're actually giving. We're giving half of that. So it could have said, give 10. Give 10 gera, which is a half shekel. But no. The emphasis clearly is on the half. Yet at the same time, Rambam source number 4, which is Hilchos Shekalim, Sefer Zmanim. But yet again, the emphasis is that it has to be all at once, a whole half. You got to give the whole half all at once. You can't split it up. There's no financing. You got to give the whole thing. Don't call your banker. Just give the whole half shekel. Okay. Any questions, comments?
So practically speaking, like if we're going to give a $50, so you said, Rambam says, like whatever currency, whatever country you live in.
Yeah, I think you have to actually, officially, I do think you have to, there is a minimum amount, because the Rambam says in source number 2, right?
It can't be less than the.
Yeah.
Okay, so
whatever that is.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But could you give 2/4? Let's say because you're saying it has to be a complete half. So we have a half a dollar, but not every currency I assume has a half whatever that unit is. We happen to have one, right?
Back in the day, they used
Back
to
in the
just
day.
take the big coin and chop it up.
You
and
cut
do
it. Oh, cut it, right?
That's what they would do?
Yeah.
You ever heard the phrase pieces of 8?
No.
But if you read
Our
Pirate,
system is the amount.
so they would manage to
think
cut
so.
the coin into 8.
I'm not aware of that has to be one coin. I don't
No, but
know.
that's what you're telling me. It has to be complete. Like you couldn't give 10 gera.
You can't finance.
I can't give. I can't give. No, no. I can't give.
That's
like.
what I thought it was
I
saying.
can't give 5 gera today and 5 gera tomorrow.
you can't.
Correct.
Can I give 10 gera at one shot? Is that what the puzzle?
That's your question.
Yeah, or should it be a mamash machatzit shekel?
I don't know. It's a good question. I have to look it up. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think that it's not a problem as long as you give the amount. But I'm not sure. You can maybe say from source number 10. We're getting up to it now. Source number 10 in Rashi. I almost was going to quote source 11 instead of source number 10. But source number 10 is Rashi. How can I not quote Rashi and Chumash? Any shir that doesn't quote a Rashi and Chumash, what kind of shir is it? Rashi and Chumash, right? There's Rashi say Ze Yitnu. What is it? Rashi, by the way, right? There's a strategy to learning Rashi, right? Strategy is Jewish Jeopardy. You know this, right? You know the game Jeopardy? Alex Trebek?
Yeah.
You know the game Jeopardy?
Yeah.
What's the vart of Jeopardy?
If they answer the question.
Well, you answer the question.
What is the question?
No, you don't answer the question.
You answer with the question.
You just answer with a
I said
question.
you went with the question.
And you have to, I think the rules are, I mean, I
What's
haven't
the
seen it in, I don't know how many years I've seen it. I think you have to actually phrase it as a question.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise you get it wrong. Even if you get
So
it right.
Rashi, lahavdil, maybe we should say, is Jewish Jeopardy. You know what I'm talking about. Rashi is Jewish Jeopardy. Rashi is not telling you stuff. He's not just trying to increase your knowledge. Rashi is answering a question on the verse. And it's a certain genre. It's not Kabbalah. It's not like the Or Chaim. It's not Drush or whatever. It's a certain genre, which we call Pshat. But he's always answering a question. Jewish Jeopardy. So our job when we're reading a Rashi is to ask ourselves, what question did he have that therefore he's telling me this statement? And often the clue is in the Dibur HaMaschil, Ze Yitnu. So part of the clue is the word Ze. Ze means this, like Rashi says in other places. Ze, like we said, we read in the Shabbos Shira 2 weeks ago. Ze Keli V'Anveu, Chazal say, Rashi says, Ki'ilu Marim Be'etzbo. Ze means this, as if you could point with your finger. So Ze Yitnu, this you should give. What should I give? What are you pointing at? So says Rashi, you know what he was pointing at? Says Rashi, Hera le'kimin matbeya shel eish. Hashem showed Moshe, he pointed, so to say, he held it up. Look at this coin of fire. We're going to get to the fire later. Look at the coin of fire. Mishkola machzis shekel, which weighed half a shekel. From here, you understand where I'm going? Va'amar loy kazeh yitnu. This is what you should give.
It was a full coin, just happened to weigh 10 gera.
Yeah, so I don't know I don't know the halacha.
Okay.
I don't know. We have to look it up to find out. But maybe from here you see that it should be a coin. Hashem didn't show Moshe Rabbeinu. Here's a bunch of geiras. Here's some, what are they called? Agurot. Here's some this. No, this is a half shekel. Is what you have to give. Okay. That's source number 10. We'll come back to source number 10 and source number 11 as well, God willing. Source number 11 is a first-time visitor to our chair also, by the way. But we're going to get there, God willing. It's only 2 words, but we'll get there. Okay. Let's jump right in. Source number 5. I believe it may or may not be the first time we've had the Sefer Or HaTorah. I don't recall right now, actually. That is written by the Tzemach Tzedek. There are 2 Tzemach Tzedeks. This is the Tzemach Tzedek of Lubavitch, the 3rd Lubavitcher Rebbe. Born 1789, passed away 1866. He was known in the Jewish world, as far as I know, primarily for his halacha, for his piskei dinim and his chidushim and shas and his shalos and chuvas that he wrote. However, he also has about this many svarim of Chassidus, which is very, very difficult Chassidus, a lot of Kabbalah, hard to follow, generally, just my own experience. But anyway, we're quoting from his Sefer. And he says like this. What is the machzis? What is the machzis? I guess we'll start at the end of the first line. The verse says, Ki chelik Hashem amai, that the chelik Hashem, the portion of God, is amai, is his people. Uksiv, and it says further, Pischi li achoisi samosi, open up for me achoisi, my sister, rayosi, my beloved, samosi, my pure one, my something like that. Pure doesn't sound right. Pure. Ve'isa b'medrash. What does it mean when we say samosi, like tam, pure or simple? Not simple in a bad way, but it's not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for?
Unspoiled.
Refined. Refined, maybe. Maybe also like earnest, maybe. Okay. So the Medrash says, Tamosi, read it, Tu'umosi, like Tu'umim, twins. Who are the twins? What are twins? What's pshat of twins? At least identical twins. Is that they look the same. Two people look the same. Sometimes you can't tell the difference. What does it mean, twins? Lo yani gadol mimenu. I'm not bigger than him. V'lo hi gadol mimeni. And she's not, I'm not bigger than her, and she's not bigger than me. What does that mean? Just like it's talking about Hashem and the Jewish people. We are like twins. The pasuk is basically Achosi Rayosi Samosi is from Shir Hashirim. Shalom HaMelech talking about Hashem. So he says, open up for me, Tamosi, my pure one, my sincere one, my earnest one, whatever. I'm not sure what the best translation is there. And the Medrash says, Tamosi is Tu'umosi, my twin. Twins are identical. They look the same. Come from the same place, born at the same time. I mean, whatever, more or less. Share DNA, etc. Let's call it identical for the sake of our conversation. So that's talking about Hashem and the Jewish people. And the it says, just like it says that Hashem is tzaddik. Hashem is righteous in all his ways. So if we're his twin, then we're also righteous. We're also tzaddikim. Hashem is a tzaddik? Good, I'm also a tzaddik. What does it mean to be a tzaddik? It means that we bring about and reveal God's presence in the world. Hashem and the Jewish people, we're actually like two halves of one whole. Just like a chazan and kala. I'm going to a wedding after this, by the way. Going to a wedding in Brooklyn. Just like a chazan and kala. One of the spouses alone, the Zohar says, is a plag gufa. Plag is half a body. It's interesting. It doesn't say half an neshama. It says half a body. How come it doesn't say half an neshama?
You can't divide the neshama.
You can't divide the neshama. Neshama is infinite. You can't. If you divide, what do you divide? What do you get if you divide infinite in half? Same thing, infinite, right? So it's the goof, it's the body that's actually half, Zohar says. And when you bring those two halves together, those two half bodies, the chosan and kala, when you're mechaber them, when you join them together, what happens? God willing, first mitzvah in the Torah, at least in the brand new Sefer HaChinuch that Tzvi donated the Sefer HaChinuch and the Minchas HaChinuch to the Chabad house. What's the first mitzvah according to Sefer HaChinuch? Peruruvu. We had last week. What's the first mitzvah of the Rambam? Nechashem lokecha. Okay. Now I say loda moilid b'doimaloi. What do you give birth to? B'doimaloi. Similar to you. The kid looks like the parent. So so too spiritually speaking, above in the spiritual realms, that just like we give birth down here, when you bring together these two halves, so too in the spiritual realms, the neshamas also give birth. They also reveal God's presence, not down here, in the upper worlds. We do it down here. And up in the spiritual realms, there's angels and whoever it is that's doing spiritual revelation up there. Zel tamosi tu umosi. That's what it means. Tamosi, my pure one. Again, I'm missing the correct translation, but you'll forgive me for that. Tu'umosi, my twin, my equal. So that's the two halves. The two halves is me and Hashem. You and Hashem. The two halves. How could you have two people that are? How could you be half of Hashem? I be half of Hashem? Infinite. And so we're all halves with Hashem. So the machtis, the whole idea of a machtis, is that we should view ourselves as only a half. Who's the other half? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like a chassan and kala. And along these lines, the Rav HaMagid, that means the B'doiv Ber of Mezrich, the Mezrich and Magid, he says a pshat that's similar. Al Pasuk, Asei L'cha Shtei Chatzaitzres. He says, the Pasuk says, Asei L'cha Shtei Chatzaitzres Shofar. Make two chatzaitzes. Chatzaitzes are trumpets. So he interprets it in a non-literal way, and he says chatzaitzes is like a compound word that should be read shtei, or doesn't have the word. It's asel shtei chatzaitzes. Shtei chatzaitzes is chatzoe tzuros. Two chatzoe tzuros, two half forms. Who are the two half forms? That Hashem and the Jewish people are like two halves of a whole. That's the Tzemach Tzedek in Or HaTorah, Parshas Kisiso. That we're like two halves of this, two halves of a whole. Who's the other half? Hashem. Each of us is only a half. The chassan is a husband is only half. His wife is the other half. And we, each of us, each and every Jew, it's a half, and my other half, my complementary half, my fulfilling half, the half that makes me shalom, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what does that mean? Source number 6, the Tanya, chapter 2, in the Tanya. Perek Beis, V'nefesh ha'shenis b'Yisrael l'chelek al kavi mamash. The second soul, because the first soul is what is the animal soul, the second soul, which is the godly soul, the divine soul, is a chelik elokami ma'al mamish, is a veritable piece of God above, a literal mamish, a literal piece of God above. Meaning that my neshama, the pshat is not that I have a neshama, and there's a God in the world, and my neshama is connected and united with Hashem. That's not what it means. Rather, what it means is that I'm already one with Him. Me and God, don't quote this out of context, one and the same. It's not me with an neshama and Hashem, and Baruch Hashem, I'm connected to Hashem. That's not the pshat. It's that me and Hashem are one, united. Shtei chatzoe tzuros, two halves of one whole, like a chosan and a kala, two halves of one whole. Not two separate things that came together, one thing.
So when we say Hashem Echad, that's Hashem is one,
Right.
but we're part of that one.
Let's go to the next source and we'll see maybe a little bit more about that. Source number 7, our first time welcoming the Shefa Tav. It's good that I recently I bought it. This is a little encyclopedia, a full-volume encyclopedia of rabbinic biographies of different rabbis, and so there was a biography of this person in it. So I read it, and I'll tell you now. I know who he is. His name was Reb Shabsai Sheptel Halevi Horowitz. He lived in the time of the Shlah HaKodesh, whose name was Yeshaya Horowitz. I don't think they were related, but I'm not sure. The biography I read didn't say. When did he live? In the time of the Shlah. He was born something like 1565. And passed away 1619. He lived in Prague. He was a Rav. Well, I didn't actually see it. Didn't say he was a Rav per se. I don't know if he passed in Shilas. I don't know. But he was a doctor and a Makubal. That's what I wanted to quote in the Rambam today. I knew it. That's what I wanted to quote in the Rambam. You know, there's a daily schedule of learning Rambam, right? People maybe heard that. I did a seam recently, Baruch Hashem. Started again. And in today's Rambam, it's Hilchos Deos, and it's all about health. The Rambam's approach to health. The question is now, I'm not going to find what I'm looking for. I'll just give it a second here. Sorry. Okay, I don't know where did it go? Oh, here. The Rambam in chapter 4 of Hilchos Deos, the last halacha, chapter halacha 23. Kol ir she'ein ba asar dvarim ha'elu. Any city that doesn't have the following 10 things, ein talmid chachamim mirashai loder b'seicha. A Torah scholar should not live there. Ve'elu heinu. These are those 10 things. First thing is Reife, doctor. You don't have a doctor in the town, can't live there. And then there's other things too. Why did I want to mention that? Because the author of this sefer, this Kabbalah sefer, Shefatal, Reb Shabsai Sheptul Halevi Horowitz, was a doctor. The doctor, he was a Makubal, and he lived, as I mentioned, he lived in the time of the Shlah, and he considered the Ramak, Reb Moshe Cordovera, the great Makubal, the predecessor to the Arizal, the biggest Rebbe, and he followed in the derech of the Ramak in terms of Kabbalah. I think also, if I understood correctly, the style of his writing is, for the most part, fairly straightforward and easy, in terms of language at least. He wrote the Sefer Shefatal, he was 46 years old. He also wrote a commentary on the Meira and the Vuchin by the Rambam, which was apparently never published. And the Rebbe mentioned him at a Fabrengen, Yud Beis Tammuz, Tavshin Mem Beis, the 12th of Tammuz, 1982. I looked it up. And the Rebbe said, in referencing the Sefer Shefatal we're about to read from, Umuvon, she'enoi zokok lahaskoma me'anoshim kerchenu. It's self-understood, he doesn't need approbations from people like us. He doesn't need us to say that he's good, that he's worthwhile. Anyway, in this Sefer Shefatal, he explains the Yesodos, the foundations of Kabbalah, and there are numerous parallels to Tanya, as we will see right now. Source number 7, Shefatal, in the introduction. Yadua, it is known. The soul of the Jew is a chelok elakami mal. The Alter Rebbe adds the word mamish. Chelok elakami mal is actually a pasuk. The Alter Rebbe adds the word mamish afterwards. Here he does not. We are a chelek. What is a chelek? We are chelek, a piece. Chelek mamish. An actual literal piece. How could you be a piece of the infinite? How could you be a piece of God? I thought God is one. That God is one. Like you cut a piece off something. The piece has the same qualities and characteristics of the thing, like a piece of an apple. Cut a piece of an apple from an apple, the piece is exactly like the apple itself. It's just not the whole thing. Tastes the same, smells the same, sounds the same, crunches the same, it's juicy the same. And there ain't no difference. There's no difference at all between that piece and the source where the piece came from. But the source where it came from is hakol. It's everything. It's all of it. The achlal and the inclusiveness. It's larger. It doesn't mean larger, just physically larger. It's all encompassing. But at their core, at their essence, they're similar and they're the same. They're equal. Likewise, this is you have to be careful who you read these words to now. So I'm trust we're in good company. There's no difference between your soul and God Himself. Hold the thought. No difference between your soul and God Himself. Just God is everything. He's the light that includes the great light that built these sefer, built these tachlis without end. And the neshama is a chelik, is like a piece of the apple. Now, he got flack for writing this. He got flack for saying this, and wrote another sefer called Nishmas Shabsai Halevi or something. I think it's over here. I printed the page that I took this quote from. Called Nishmas Shabsai Halevi or something like that. Where he tries to defend it. Says that he doesn't really mean that there's no difference between my neshama and God. It's not what he meant. It's not what he meant. But that has the same characteristics. Oh yeah, here it is. Nishmas, it's right here. Nishmas Shabsai Halevi is the name of the sefer that he wrote again after in response to critics that criticized him for this. And he says that what I meant to say was not that the neshama is an actual piece of God Himself, the infinite light. Chas v'shalom, that's not what it means. Rather, that the neshama is godly, is a godly piece, if you will, down here in this world.
Piece of what?
Of Hashem.
So what's the difference in what he's not trying not to say? What you said?
He says that even though it's like a piece of the apple, which has all, these are my words, not his words, which has all the same characteristics as the actual source apple itself. He says, however, this piece of apple has a midah. A midah v'gvul, has a measurement. It is finite in some way. It says, yesh la tachlis midah v'shiur. It has a tachlis, and midah and the shiur, all kind of mean the same thing.
Limitations.
Yeah. B'yachas le'ein sof baruch hu. In reference to the Ein Sof, the infinite light of God. But in reference to the world down here, presumably it's also infinite. Okay. Anyway, that's Shefatal.
Like you take a spoon of water out of the ocean.
Yeah.
The water itself is the same as all the water in the ocean, but it's not the ocean. It's just it's quantifiably different.
Quantifiably different. And if you would say this is the ocean, what are you talking about? No, it's not.
No.
It's taken from the ocean.
It's hard to understand because God, a piece of infinite is not infinite too.
Right. So he says it is infinite.
So that's weird.
But in relation to the source where it comes from, in some way it has some type of limitation on it.
No.
Can we say it's like DNA of one cell contains the whole person, right?
Maybe. What are we talking about? Sorry. Just being honest. The twins, the Chatan and Kala, the twins. So how could we be twins? How could we have a twin? The answer is Nefesh Hashenis b'Yisrael chelak elakam imal mamish. That's the answer, and that we are chelak elakam imal, like he says in Shafatal. Mamish, not Rebbe. As if like a piece taken off from the source. So we are indeed a machzis from Hashem. That's my neshama. That's everybody's neshama. Look at source number 8, a sicha from the Rebbe. Likutei Sichos, volume 31, page 133. The Sefer HaTanya, it's cut off in the middle of a sentence, but in the Sefer HaTanya it says, which we saw in source number 6, Shenishmas kol ish Yisrael, the source of every single Jew, is a veritable, literal piece of God. That is to say, the neshama is not a dovar nifrad mimenu yisbarich. It's not something that is separate from Hashem. It that in addition to it, that is to the neshama, it's united with Hashem. No, that's not what the neshama is. I mentioned this before. Ella, rather, what is it? Shemelachatchila, from the very outset, harehi kula chad im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It is one with Hashem. Chelak alakam mal mamish. You took the piece of apple, you cut it out of the apple, just stick it back in, so to speak. It's wrapped up with it. It's one. It's completely united. It's not separate, and it unites with Hashem. It's just already one with Hashem. It doesn't need to unite. It's already connected. It's one thing. It's not two things that connected. It's one thing. That's what it means. A chelik. It's one thing. V'zehu inyan machzis hashekel. The Rebbe continues in the second paragraph here in source 8. That's the whole of a machzis. Dahainu gilui hanefesh elokis, a revelation of our neshama. Hama'oided be'odem es hargosha she'enoi ela machzis bilvad. That awakens within me a feeling that I am not complete. I am a half. V'shoyef v'roitza lis'achid im chatzi tzura habes im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then my neshama, which is awakened, yearns and strives to join together and bond with the other half. Hashem. That's the machzis.
Better half.
The better half, right? The better half. Source number 9. Continuing in this sikha from the Rebbe. This now explains what we discussed at the beginning of the class of the shir tonight. The two opposites in the Rambam and the Gemara in Zvachim, and then in another Rambam. On the one hand, we saw an emphasis. It must be a machzis. If you're rich, you cannot give more than a machzis. If you're poor, you also cannot give less than a machzis. Yet at the same time, you have to give the whole half. You can't split it up in different days. You can't finance it. You got to give it all at once. So how does it work? This is exactly the point. Aleph machzis dafka. On the one hand, it's dafka half. Base on the other hand, kula ka'achas b'pa'amachas has to be given all at once. At once. So maybe kula ka'achas does mean one coin. I don't know. Look it up. I don't have it. This is not Rambam. Kasher, so how does it work? They're actually contingent one upon the other. How so? Kasher when you feel yourself to be only a machzis, you realize that you're not complete. Without Hashem, you're incomplete. I'm just a half. That feeling is actually an indication of how close you are to Hashem. When you actually truly feel and are aware that I am just a half, that's due to a result of a giluy haiskashus l'Hashem, a revelation of your bond to Hashem. I'm not separate from Hashem. I'm just like half of the image. Then how do I behave? I'm all in. I give it all at once. I don't hold back. I don't restrain myself. I don't dip my foot into the pool, the water, it's too cold. There's none of that. When I recognize that I'm actually only a half, then I'm all in. I'm completely invested. When the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, was still in former Soviet Union in Russia, and the life was very difficult, as we know, thanks to our dear friends, communists, Stalinists, whoever these people were. And the Frierdiker Rebbe gathered together 10 Chassidim. We don't know who they are. We know, I believe, one of them was. And it's reported that he made a bris, a covenant with them. Did they actually draw blood? I suppose not. But he made a bris, made a covenant. And on the spot, all of them, he said to them, this minion of Chassidim are going to do anything possible to support, to encourage, and to grow Yiddishkeit and to keep the flame of Torah mitzvahs alive. And you'll do it to all extents, to any and all extent, even death. you will not stop at anything short of death to spread and continue the flame of Torah mitzvahs. As far as I know, they were all killed except for one, as far as I know. But when you really feel yourself a half, when you really feel that I'm a machzis, I'm a chatzitzura, like the word from the Rizich Magid that we had in source number 5. I'm just half of the chatzitzura. I'm just half of the shekel hakodesh. I'm just half. Then you're all in. Then you give it all at once. You don't hold back. You don't restrain yourself. Because how could you restrain yourself? I'm only a half. I need to be here. If you think about it in terms of marriage, how could I say, well, I like my wife, I want to help her, but not for this. What do you mean? Are you in or you're out? You're married or you're not married? You're here to support her, you're not to support. And certainly in Avodas Hashem and Torah mitzvahs. Torah mitzvahs is not about, as the people here understand, obviously it goes without saying, it's not about serving Hashem when I want to, when I feel like it. Good, when you feel like it, okay, good for you. But the real feeling of being a machzis, of being a half, leads you to be kuloi ka'achas, like the Rambam says. You give the whole thing all at once. You don't hold back. As he continues in source number 9. Mesiras nefesh, self-sacrifice. Shahin nakuda achas shalamayel mischaltos. You can't say a person had a little bit of self-sacrifice. You can't say a person had a lot of self-sacrifice. He either had self-sacrifice or he didn't. He either jumped in the deep end or he didn't. There's only 2 options. Because what's Mesiras Nefesh? We translate it as self-sacrifice. But Mesiras means giving over. Mesiras Nefesh, of your neshama, of your soul. So how do you give over only part of your soul? Or more or less? And the answer is you don't. You either give Mesiras Nefesh or you don't. It's either all in or not. So when a person has the feeling of machzis, that hergish, that awareness of being the half, so then they're all in. Mesiras Nefesh. That's the hallmark. And this fits with the Rashi we had before, source number 10. Why does it say that Hashem didn't show him a coin? He showed him a coin of fire. What in the world is a coin of fire? You ever heard of such a thing? There is no such thing. What's a coin of fire? And that's going to help Moshe? Oh, Moshe, you don't know what to give? Here, give one of these. Give a coin of fire. Excuse me, God, where do I get a coin of fire from? Which money changer has the coins of fire? What's it talking about? Rashi, we saw before, right? And I quoted it because it's Rashi. How can I quote Rashi? But source number 11, the Targum of Yonis and Ben Uziel. We spoke when we had the Shir Bat Shnai Mikra. Could you read the Targum of Yonis and Ben Uziel? He's explained even more than Ukhlis. So how does he translate on the pasuk? Ze yitnu is he gives a kedinra de'esha, a dinar. A dinar is a currency, a coin of Aish, of fire. By the way, interesting. Who's Jonathan ben Uziel? He was a Talmid of Hillel. It says he was the greatest of the disciples of Hillel Hazak. He had like something like 80 Talmidim, right? 80 maybe. He says he was the greatest Talmidim. He says he was so great that when he would learn Torah, if a bird would fly over his head, the bird would burst into flames. It says about Jonathan ben Uziel. Just mention that because it's connected to the fire. Connected to the fire. If you're ever in Eretz Yisrael up north in Tzfaz, you went into Amukah before?
No.
Amukah, it's a very, very, very special place. Amukah. So Yonas ben Uziel says the coin is Kedin De'esha. It's a fire, a coin of fire. What's the coin of fire? What does that mean, a coin of fire? I've never seen a coin of fire before. But it teaches us that the coin you're going to give has to be fire. That's what it has to be. It's not a coin. It's not just you put the coin in the pushkin, move on with your life. Oh, here's my half shekel. Shalom aleichem, goodbye, thanks. Now that I check the box. No, there's no checking the box. There's no putting coins in the pushkin. It's got to be a fire. There's to be a fire, a passion, an excitement. It's got to be on fire. Because that's the way it is when you're all in. When a person is all in, it's fire. The fire of the neshama. When you give that coin, that machzis, when we recognize how we're only the half, which brings us to this amazing level of mesiras nefesh, of willing to do anything for Hashem, being all in, jump straight into the. You don't test the water. You just go in. You jump in fully dedicated, fully devoted to Yiddishkeit. That's a matbeh shel eish. That's a coin of fire. Permeated with the fire of the neshama, with the passion of the neshama, with the devotion of the neshama. That's the matbeh shel eish. That's mesiras nefesh. And that's why Hashem shows him matbeh shel eish. Not just about giving the coin. It's the way to give the coin. If you're really doing it right, the coin will be a coin of fire. And source number 12, the Rambam, back to Shekalim and Rambam. Trumas alishka ma yaseh, but what do they do with all these coins? Now they have a lot of money. What do they do with it? Loikchin mimena tamidin shel kol yoim, the tamidin for every day, v'musafin, v'chol karbonis hatzibur, and all communal sacrifices, etc. So the main inyan of this half shekel was for the communal sacrifices, or let's not say the word sacrifices, the karbonis. What's a carbon? To come close to Hashem. We have the mission of us that the world stands on three things. Al shlosha devarim ha'olam ha'emed. Al ha'teira, ve'al ha'avoda, ve'al gemilus chasodim. What's avoda mean? Look in the Bartanura. The Bartanura, born in 1455, passed away 1520, although I saw other dates, so whatever. Passed away in the early 1500s. Was born in Italy. In 1486, he left Italy and went to Eretz Yisrael. It took him about 18 months to get there. And that's where he passed away in Eretz Yisrael. There's a shul in the old city of Yerushalayim that's apparently was his shul. I don't know how destroyed it was or not, but
He's buried in Yerushalayim.
I don't know where he's buried. I'm guessing yes, but I don't actually know. But he passed away in Yerushalayim. The Bartanura says, what's avoda? Ve'alo avoda. Avodas ha-karbonos on the bottom line. Karbonos. So this whole message of the half shekel, which were used to purchase karbonos, which is about kiruv, about coming close to Hashem. That's avoda. This is a message for our entire avoda. Our entire avoda is the avoda of the machzis shekel. It's not just a parsha we read once a year. It's a parsha that's instructive of our entire avodas Hashem. How it has to be, how we have to structure our avodas Hashem, how we have to look at our relationship with others and with Hashem. And the way to look at it is we're only machzis. And source number 14, to wrap it up. We can sweeten the deal. Ki avodas Hashem b'shleimus, to serve Hashem fully and completely. Is when you truly feel that you're only a half. I can't do it without you, Hashem. As much as I serve Hashem with all of my koyach, put everything into it, nevertheless, I still feel like whatever I did, as much as I did, I still only did half. Because if Hashem weren't to help me, then I can't accomplish anything. That Hashem gives me all the koichos I need to do whatever I need to do, to serve Hashem properly.
Well,
I didn't quote that part.
Oh.
Quote's a pasuk. Mik dimani v'ashalem, pasuk in Eov. The koichos come even before. Koichos come even before I have to do my service, before I have to do my work. So this feeling of the machtis, of being the half, which is expressed as mesiras nefesh, expressed as being all in, jumping into the deep end, This is the matbeh shel esh. This is the coin of fire, and that's why the halacha has with the machzis these two seemingly opposite things at the same time. On the one hand, halacha tells us give only a half, precisely a half, not more, not less. So we're saying, unlike the Gemara Zvachim, don't fill the cup to the top. Don't fill it. What do you mean don't fill it? Kli shares has to be full. No. Here, like this cup has a little chip. You can't use this for kli shares. It has a chip. So even though it has to be full, it has to be whole. But no. The matzah shekel is a half. Going against this whole klal in Shas. Why don't we go against it for? Just give a whole shekel. They have more money. Imagine the fundraiser goes to a guy for fundraising, and the guy says, I'd like to make $1,000 donation to your organization. And the fundraiser says, I just want 500. I only need 500. The more money, the better. Whatever money. But the Torah stresses, machzis ha-shekel. And the pasuk even says, "Esim geira ha-shekel." It tells you even the amount of the whole shekel, but not to give that. So on the one hand, we're seeing this stress on not being sholem. On the other hand, the stress in the Rambam also in halacha is that you have to give it kuloi ka'achas. You give it all at once, the whole thing.
They give you all.
What's that?
They have to give you all.
Yeah, that's right. And it's because it's exactly this tension between these two things. That when I realize that I'm only a machzis, when I live with that consciousness that I am incomplete, without Hashem I can't do anything, that whatever I do, as much as I do, it's still only at most a machzis. Then I realize that the other half is Hashem, and that Hashem is helping me, and that I can be fully immersed. I can be all into Yiddishkeit. Questions or comments?
Is machzis shekel is the same as the shekel, half the shekel when they give for the census?
Yeah. No, that's something else. That's something else.
That's a different donation.
Yeah. Because there were different times it was counted. It wasn't necessarily for this. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming. And this will be continued.
I understood like half of that.
Oh. We'll leave.